Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. And today we are going to be covering this little podcast because she's going to talk about how she, as a dietitian, went from, quote, weight loss to weight inclusive. So I want to listen to this and hear the story of how she basically fell into the fat acceptance world. I also want to, for my own research purposes, as I have been working on my zombie metaphor of the Last of Us zombies, I want to know where she stands there or within that picture. So I have a feeling she was a zombie before and she just became a fat acceptance one. But we're going to see. I want to see. I could be wrong. She might have turned. So we're going to find this story. I want to see this. I used to respond to her TikToks a lot because I couldn't stand her. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and watch now. Are you guys ready? I'm kind of excited. I'm not going to lie.
Welcome back to another episode of the Fine Food Freedom Podcast. This is your host, Sam Previtt.
I have it sped up just a little bit because I want to try to do this in 2 parts.
And happy National Registered Dietitian Day. If you're here, maybe you are a registered dietitian yourself. So cheers. I hope you're celebrating accordingly. If I'm one of your favorite dietitians and that's why you're here, let's fucking go. That's awesome. Thanks for being here today. So before we get into today's story, if you will, I'm going to give you my journey of becoming a dietitian and just how I got to where I am today. This has kind of become a tradition for me that every single year on National Dietitian Day, I release a podcast about my journey. And it's so interesting. I haven't done this, but I feel like I should listen to a few of them back to back to back to see how much has changed in how I talk about it, because the more you learn, the more you grow, the more you reflect, like things are just different. And then of course, like with every year that ticks by, it's just things are changing. Things are changing. So anyways, before we get into today's episode, I do want to just share a Fine Food Freedom win of the week. These are messages that are sent through our DMs. These are messages that are sent through our client win Slack channel. And I thought this one was really appropriate for today because this is from one of our clients who is actually a dietitian herself. So she wrote, "Hi, Julie." She's working with Julie, one of our dietitians. "I really enjoyed my session with you, and I am so glad that I took the chance to work with you as my dietitian. You really listened to my story, and I liked how open you were with me about yours and the similarities in our experiences. I just listened to the talk that you gave about diabetes and intuitive eating, and I found it so helpful. I'm really letting the information you said sink in. Intuitive eating was definitely not encouraged in my previous curriculum or work settings. I hope to one day be an intuitive eating counselor myself. Until then, I will continue paving my own way as I have been. And I'm really glad to have you on my team now. Thanks for the email recap and encouragement. See you next week." So I thought this was really, really cool because as dietitians, we are not required to have any type of supervision and or have a dietitian ourselves. And I think that is wild. Like, if you are a therapist, you have to go to therapy because you're supporting humans and your own shit's going to come up. Am I right? And so the dietitians, they just get to counsel whoever and say whatever, but they don't work on their own shit necessarily. Now,
It's really interesting. I sounded like Regina George. That's like really interesting. No, I'm just kidding. That's interesting to me that she says that because I feel like she's acting as if my zombie senses are tingling because she's acting as if hearing about somebody else's issues could give a dietitian their own, which is very telling. Once again, you can't be reinforced if there's nothing there to reinforce. It's very interesting to hear her say that. So I don't know if she's totally in the TR, but that was giving a little bit of zombie.
of course, some dietitians might work on their own body.
And when I say TR, I mean E followed by the letter D. So I have to specify. I forget sometimes. I'm so sorry.
Stuff in therapy for those therapists who are trained in that work. But I do think it is so admirable when we see dietitians that are struggling with their relationship with food and body, and they're seeking out dietitians who are trained in it to help them versus letting that voice.
So how many of them are there that are struggling? I wonder if that should be disqualifying. I don't know. So she's talking about it like it's so normal that all these dietitians have this problem. Be so careful who you see. Be so careful. Just make sure you're not going to a zombie. You got to make sure. I can try to come up with some litmus test stuff, but right off the bat, if they cannot accept caloric realism, that is a huge red flag. That's like a big one. So if that's a thing, they're like, oh my gosh, if they have an issue with the concept of a normal weight, that's another huge red flag. That's all that comes up off the top of my head. But yeah, be very careful out there.
In their head win that says like, I'm a dietitian, I should know better, I shouldn't be struggling. Like, I think I know for me that's
you shouldn't
part
be.
of my story, but like,
you really shouldn't be struggling. I don't think you should be advising people if you're struggling yourself. I really don't. I wonder how common that is.
For so long I had so much imposter syndrome because I was a dietitian, but I didn't, like, I hated myself and my body, and I didn't feel healthy. And so
TR. Zombie. It's giving zombie. Zombie. And I'm just kidding. I'm not going to get into that. But that's what it's giving. I'm like, okay. I had a feeling she was a long-term one. So she might be more of a stalker within the zombie metaphor. We're going to see. She might be a bloater, though, if it's that bad. I don't know.
I think that the same thing goes here. Like, I just think this is incredible for this client. And if you're a dietitian or a nutrition student or any healthcare professional or any human who needs support, it is admirable to reach out and get support. So you can easily check your health insurance benefits with our team. You can do that by going to the link in the show notes below. You can go anywhere on social media and you can find our link to check your benefits. We accept United, BCBS, what else? Aetna, Cigna, Anthem, 100 plus plans. We're licensed in over 29 states, and get your benefits checked. There's just no downside. If you don't have coverage with us, then we will absolutely just gift you one free month of our membership. And Julie, who this Find Food Freedom Win of the Week was about, she leads our membership. So she leads 3 live group coaching calls every single month, and you can get a free month simply because you don't have coverage. Like, I never want finances to be the reason why somebody can't get support with our team. So I digress, but I just wanted to share that with you. Dietitians are amazing, and happy Dietitian Day. Woo! Let's go. Okay, so if you have stumbled upon Find Food Freedom at some point, you've probably heard my voice or seen my face. Sorry if you're sick of me. And I keep getting DMs from people being like, did I just see you in a Eucerin commercial? Yes, you sure did. And you're not going to be able to escape my face, unfortunately. I'm sorry. Because that ad will be running for the rest of 2026 because they just re-upped their rights. Let's go. But that's just like a random fun fact. Did I ever think I'd be on a Eucerin commercial? No. But I was able to be in a 12-week clinical trial with them. Obsessed with Eucerin, their whole team, the scientists, the lab. Oh, I love them so much. And this does tie into today's story because, like, if you told 18-year-old Sam that I was going to be in a Eucerin commercial and it was like an extension of my social media that was for my business that I owned with 11 badass dietitians, I would look at you like, you're fucking crazy. How the hell am I going to do that? But here we
It's giving a little flex. Okay. It's a little stalkery in terms of The Last of Us. So a stalker is a less intense or a more mild case of E followed by the letter D / the TR, regardless of whatever one it is. I think she was more on the reductive side, if I remember correctly, but still, stalker. Got those flexes going on.
we are. And I'm just like Adam Sandler right now, and I love it. Okay? I don't care. I love it. Okay. So here we go. I want to.
By the way, Charlie XCX hates that song. No, I'm just kidding. That's not the one she hates. She hates Boom Clap. I just made that up. But she does hate Boom Clap. I think. She said it was too, like, produced. She does like I Don't Care.
I just set the scene for
I
you.
saw her perform that live, so she likes that one.
Because if you're someone who's like, you're not an OG follower, you don't know, you've seen Find Food Freedom, but you just thought like, oh, this girl like loves intuitive eating, she loves disordered eating care, she loves body image stuff, she probably was always like that. I was not like that. I have interviewed so many people that like somehow by the grace of the world, they were always in this space of intuitive eating and anti-diet. That ain't me. That ain't me. I wish it was. But then I also think because of all my past experiences, like it really solidifies who I am and what I believe. And because I used to do so much harm, weight management care, I
That would be at least a runner. She's a zombie. That's super zombie. So that means that she doesn't agree or support weight normalization. Huge problem within the TR. That is huge.
now I'm just like so firmly rooted in what I believe. And I think that's like really helpful.
So she's not going to help anybody actually recover, which I don't know if that's her job, but it kind of is, right? It's like tangentially related, at least. And she does talk about it a lot. So, yeah.
Helpful because I wonder sometimes, like if you just go straight into intuitive eating, do you just think like, oh, like, I don't know how to explain what I'm saying. I've just caused so much harm as a dietitian previously that I think I'm just like, I can't imagine what it would be like to not. Okay, let's talk. So I am a millennial. I'm a millennial at my core. I'm a millennial in every single way. I'm chuggy as...
Don't we know? Sorry. I just had to say it. We knew.
Fuck. I'm such a millennial, and I went to college at a time where we wore like...
You just saying I don't care randomly out of context. So we know. You don't need to explain.
The little poof hair in the front, like Snooki, and I would like tan too much and wear fake acrylic nails, and like Jersey Shore show was really in, and I feel like we just like would wear like True Religion jeans or like the like tight business attire and like high heels and in the winter, like walking 2 miles to frat. Ubers weren't a thing. Like I didn't have Uber in college. That's wild. That has nothing to do with my story, but I just wanted to kind of intro myself like that. I went to Penn State. That's why I'm saying this. Okay, I went to Penn State. I lived the majority of my life in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I moved there as a very young kiddo, like kindergarten all through high school outside of Pittsburgh. Went to Penn State for my degree, nutrition and dietetics, and a minor in kinesiology, which is fitness studies. And I am also a certified personal trainer right now.
I wonder if she had an issue before she chose that field. I think it's really common for people with these issues to try to get into this because there's already an obsession. So when you have an obsession with that, it could lead somebody to pursue that as a career, which is not bad. It's not a bad thing to pursue that as a career, but if you're not recovered, then it's bad. Because you can, again, this can happen en masse. You can start to shift the entire industry or the entire field when enough people do this. This is how you have zombie takeover. This is what happens. So I don't think that if she had the issue earlier on, which I'm like, it's likely that she did, she's not atypical for going into this field in that sense. I think it's somewhat common. I don't think that everybody that has it goes into it, but I think there could be a sizable portion, possibly even a majority of people that go into this field have had the issue or have it currently.
And when I went to Penn State, I was accepted in their summer program. So summer session, you had to go to the summer before freshman year or the summer after your senior year of high school. You had to go, or they're like, nope, you can't go to main campus. You got to go to a branch. I think it's because we weren't like the best students. So they're like, they need a little more help. And I think it's so funny that they send the people that they're like not quite sure about to summer session, because summer session is literally a party 24/7. The campus is dead. There's like a certain amount of frats open. We all just graduated high school. Our brains aren't even fully developed. And you're throwing us on a college campus with like unlimited alcohol. Very interesting choice. But I digress. Summer session was like the best because you only had to take 2 classes. Like, what was I doing there all summer? Drinking. Okay. That's a part of my story, but don't worry, we'll get there. So I go to summer session and I had 2 classes. I had nutrition science and I had intro to kinesiology. And I knew that I like was interested in that, but it's funny.
I took one nutrition class in school, in college, and they taught Hayes. Just putting that out there.
Then I'm a dietitian and a personal trainer because those were my first 2. Oh, sorry, you had 3 classes. Or no, 2. The one was intro to nutrition and kines combined. And then I also took intro to public speaking, which is hilarious because that is also what I do for a living. And I love it. I've always known that I loved like giving speeches and all the shit. Okay. So I go to summer there. And the reason why I chose that nutrition course, yes, I knew there was like interest and I knew I wanted to like help people. I thought maybe like nursing, there was a part of me that was like maybe teaching, but probably more healthcare. But there was also this desire to learn about nutrition because I wanted to find the magic answer. I was very uncomfortable in my body at the point of when I went to college after.
There you have it. She's just saying it flat out. We don't even have to speculate. That's what I thought. I think this is more typical than people would like.
Experiencing some trauma. I lost my best friend in a car accident my senior year.
That's
and
sad.
I definitely used food to cope. And I've shared this in previous years that like I truly didn't understand that until like looking back
That's very sad.
10 plus years later, like recognizing that I was using food as a coping mechanism. And I was very uncomfortable in my body. I definitely was abusing alcohol as a teen at that time too. And so my body changed and I was very uncomfortable in my body. And I thought like, okay, well, if I go to the school and if I learn like nutrition and I learn like, okay, how do I lose weight, right? Then I can teach other people to lose weight and be happy and healthy and it'll be perfect.
Okay, so she was at least, in my opinion at least, she was kind of at least subclinical there. So I don't know how long it went on. It doesn't sound like it was super early on, but maybe, in the teens is still pretty young. So maybe she's a runner. She could be a runner, which is just somebody who enables somebody who's earlier on in the issue, that kind of thing. I'll have to see if she says more.
And I really thought that. And I kind of like my freshman year, I think I was still undecided. And then I eventually was like, okay, no, I'm going to settle into the nutrition path. And through college, the disordered eating only worsened because I continued to abuse alcohol. And when I say abuse alcohol, like it is alcohol abuse, 100%, how much I was drinking in college. But I think that's also that like party mindset of college kids, like going to a big school, going to any school, but where alcohol is so accessible. That was such a part of my life. And I would try to restrict food as much as possible to like air quotes save. And I worked at the gyms and like swiping kids in with their card. And I would like before and after my shift, I would like go on the ellipticals and the arc trainers and try to like burn, like it was like a hamster on a calories, like knowing that I was going to drink pizza when I was blacked out. Pattern was rinse and repeat every day. And I still had.
Okay, so it is giving more mild at most or subclinical. It's like somewhere along there. So I'm not sure if she was diagnosed or if it was at that point. But, there's definitely some shades of gray in that. I would still consider her a zombie, though. She's at least a runner.
Had an interest in health, but I was so unhealthy, which is just so interesting looking back. But again, it's because I was also abusing food and alcohol and like those were unhealthy coping mechanisms that I didn't have proper coping mechanisms in place. I never went to therapy. I didn't even I thought like truly back then, even I feel like therapy was the narrative around it was so different that like you only went to therapy if something like you were only considering suicide or something like that. Like that was like what I had thought. Like I'm just trying to show you like how different I am today from that version of me. Right.
Well, I think if you had a significant trauma, like somebody dying suddenly, and then, I mean, she was really young. She's like 18 or something. I'm not expecting her to be like, oh, I'm so mature and I'm just going to go sign up for therapy. But, in retrospect, you could see this occurred. I turned to these coping mechanisms. That is a situation where therapy is appropriate because you have to come to terms with what happened.
And so I remember graduating from Penn State. I was getting my nutrition degree, my minor in kinesiology. I remember graduation day walking across the stage after they called my name and being like, I am such a phony. Like, I got accepted into this dietetic program, which you had to do additional schooling after you got your degree to become a dietitian. You had to get into this very competitive program. Then once you go through that, I had to like take a board, you know, to get your credentials. But just even getting accepted into the program and graduating.
I think what we can see though is we might actually get through the whole thing. What we can see is she is definitely, she had a crumbling foundation, or it was not a strong foundation going into this. So again, she might actually be a runner. So she was susceptible to zombie manipulation, or she's susceptible to the talking points because of this. Just from her story, it sounds subclinical. That's what it sounds like. If it gets worse, then I'll be like, okay, she's a stalker, but it's giving runner still.
That I hated my body the most I ever had. I didn't know how to be healthy. And I was just like, I'm a phony. Like, how am I going to become a dietitian if I don't know what to do? And I was like, well, maybe I'll learn dietitian school. Nope. That continued. So that wasn't it. So I definitely didn't learn anything about intuitive eating or like eating disorders or anything that I do today, even in my dietetic.
Her hating her body, though, it's like, you know, she's on the edge. So I could see if she did have it. It's just, it's very mild if she did. That's basically what I am saying.
Program. But what I was introduced to during my dietetic program, in addition to the incredible interns that I'm still like besties with today, we had such a beautiful, like inside and out, but I'm talking like inside, like the souls of the humans that I met during my internship were so incredible. And there's some incredible dietitians, and we'll talk about them. They come back later in my story. But one of my rotations during my internship, for those of you who aren't dietitians, if you're listening to this, you have to go through all these different rotations of different jobs that dietitians hold. So you can see like, okay, what do I want to do? So you do your clinical, like at a hospital, right? You do outpatient, like at an outpatient treatment center, all those kind of things. And so one of my rotations was definitely different that not all internships had, was at a grocery store. And I was doing my internship in Pittsburgh. And for those of you from the Pittsburgh area, you know, your good old John Eagle. I was at a John Eagle. It's Giant Eagle, but whatever, which is different than Giant, just so you know. So I worked at a Giant Eagle, and they had dietitians at the time in the store, which I don't believe they do anymore. But we would do cooking classes, and we would do like personalized grocery store tours, and we would do cooking demos, and we would like store tours and counseling like in the store in a little private office. And I was like, this is so cool, because it was just, everything was different like every day. You never did the same thing. And so I love that variety, but I didn't think like it was possible really for me to get that job. I didn't know, right? Because you don't know when you're going through your rotation. I worked in some of the inner city schools and did some government programs of like childhood like nutrition education. And I loved that too. Like I love working with kids, but I wasn't sure if that was something I wanted long term. So I get through my program and I'm like, all right, I got to pass this RD exam, right? I have to get my credentials. So that was really what I was focusing on. I escaped down to my grandparents in the panhandle of Florida for a few weeks, hunkered down, studied, and I was like, I just need to pass this exam. I was very fortunate that during the time that I was down there studying for my exam, like I just finished my RD program, I got 2 different job offers. One was it was called the Power Up. I think it was Power Up, not Play Up, the Power Up program, which was what I was talking about before, like that government program that funded nutrition education into schools. And then one was for a dietitian, in-store dietitian role at ShopRite supermarkets. The one job for the government program for nutrition education with kiddos was in Pittsburgh. The ShopRite supermarket retail dietitian job was in New Jersey. As I said, I went to Penn State, where all of my friends went to, they were from Philly, they were from New York, they were from Pittsburgh, they were from Connecticut, they were from Jersey, New Jersey. They were all out that way. So I kind of always said, like, I want to go towards New York, or I want to go towards New Jersey, because why not? So I took that job, and so I accepted the job before I passed my RD exam. Obviously, it was like I had to pass the RD exam to really get the job within a certain amount of time. But so that put a little pressure. But I just passed my exam. You know how it like shuts off when you pass? I think I got like the lowest possible score, but hey, we did it. I can't tell you how many people I know that have had to take it so many times. It's such a pain in the ass. I'm a terrible test taker. Don't make me take a test. Make me do a speech. Make me do a project. I don't want to take a test. So anywho, then I set off to Hoboken, New Jersey.
I was the opposite. I love taking tests. I was like, screw all writing, homework, all that. I hated that shit so much in college. I was like, I don't need this. I already know it. Just give me a fucking test. That was my thing. I was opposite of her.
Moved to Hoboken, which is right outside New York City. And I was really jazzed for this job. And for those of you who are
As long as I showed up, then I knew it. If I didn't show up, I never read the material. So those are for my classes because I just didn't care about it. But if I went to the class, I would absorb it and I could do well on a test. So, but I'm an audio learner. So I have to hear things. That's how I do best, basically. So it makes sense looking back at it.
G's here and know a little bit more about me. I met the incredible Jenna Warner, who is Happy, Strong, Healthy RD on Instagram, who was also my co-host of What the Actual Fork podcast, which we did for 5 years, had over 1.5 million downloads. It was such an incredible time with her. But she was my boss at the time when I got hired. She was a retail dietitian, and then she kind of moved her way up a little bit. And it was just such an incredible role. I did exactly what I kind of said before with at Giant Eagle, being at ShopRite supermarkets. I got to do private grocery store tours. So let's say you just got diagnosed with diabetes. You're in the grocery store and you're like, I don't know what to buy. Like, what do I eat? We were there for people like that. Like, we were able to help them. We were able to give them education and show them how to, choose things that were going to help balance their blood sugar and like just all of these cool things. I did cooking classes. I did store tours. I did demos. I did one-on-one counseling. I did all of these amazing things. But my favorite thing for sure was going over the loudspeaker at ShopRite and being like, attention shoppers, this is your in-store dietitian, Sammy. Please make sure if you have not already, go sign up for our store cooking class on October, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh my God, I loved it. I
think it's so sad because I feel like she really did have good intentions. And I'm wondering if a lot of runners are like that, where it's like they have good intentions, but it's just not working out. Or it's like very dark. There's something so like horrible about somebody having good intentions and then that being twisted. It's very unfortunate, I guess I could say.
My store had to be so sick of my voice because I would just go on the loudspeaker all the time. Thought it was so cool. It was like, when you're a kid, like with the morning announcements, like I just fucking loved it. Okay. So love this job. Loved it. But I did start to recognize that when people would come to me to lose weight, because being a dietitian, that's what a lot of people do, I just felt like something wasn't right. Like I started to get this feeling that I wasn't really helping people to the best of my ability. Didn't really know what to do with this feeling, but something didn't feel right. And then during this time, I was following, of course, on Instagram, all of my friends from my dietetic internship, and Haley Goodrich, who owns Inspired, but it's spelled like RD at the end, Inspired Counseling in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She was starting to post on social media. That was like before dietitians were really doing that too. This was back in like 2015, 2016. And she was posting about this intuitive eating thing. And I called her. I was like, what is this? Like, tell me about this. Because I was reading some of her posts and I was really starting to resonate. Now, at the time, I had kind of naturally, like my own relationship with food and dieting and diet culture, I'd kind of gotten to this place. I call it diet rock bottom, which is stage 1 of intuitive eating. I kind of led myself there without knowing what it was, where I just hit this point where I was like, I can't fucking diet anymore. I don't know what to do, but I can't do that. And I kind of like got myself there, which was really interesting without knowing about it. And I read intuitive eating. I called Haley. I was like, tell me about this.
I don't know. She's very hidden about it, so it's hard to tell. Maybe she is in it. I'm even struggling a bit to tell. But I don't know if she's playing it up because they act like everything is. So probably still, it's giving subclinical. I was a pretty high level zombie, I'll put it to you that way. She's not giving that much zombie. So I feel like she might be exaggerating it. Might be kind of like performative.
This, and she was asking me questions about my job at ShopRite and like private practice, because she was at the time like an outpatient dietitian, and she was kind of making her moves to private practice, and ShopRite kind of had that feel to it, like you had to feel like you were in a private practice, but ShopRite was paying our salary, so we didn't have to collect money from these shoppers, right? Like our clients gut-free counseling, which I thought was so
Like
cool.
the other reason why I think it's subclinical is she's not talking about it enough. She's not saying I was insecure, I couldn't talk to people, I couldn't this. You see, like these are the things that I look for. She's not saying any of that. She's focused very much on the career aspect. She's very much focused on the procedure, her tests, this kind of stuff, which is more normal. So it's giving more human like, right? Rather than zombified. So I don't think she met criteria. I just don't. That's what my instincts are telling me. That's what it's telling me.
Cool. And so I started learning about intuitive eating, and then I couldn't unlearn it. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. So you're telling me that.
But that's also interesting because it brings back up like what Jillian was saying in the Jubilee video, where she was saying intuitive eating is a goal, not a treatment plan. And so if she was subclinical or she wasn't really in an issue and it maybe worked for her, it wouldn't necessarily work for somebody with an issue. So it could also denote a lack of understanding of the issue while thinking you do understand it because she thinks that she had it, but she didn't. So that's like a whole other twisted level. It's almost like a reverse projection. It's like, and I do see this a lot in people that don't have the issue. They project logic into the person that does. I often, so much of my work is to tell y'all there is no logic. It doesn't make sense. It does not make any sense. Like people try to like, you know, give somebody with E fall by letter D, they try to throw them a bone, or they try to put, you know, like give the best interpretation of what they're saying, or they try to do this stuff. And I'm like, there's nothing there. It doesn't make sense. It's not logical. It's purely emotional. It can change on a dime. You know, there's all these things that happen. And I'm just like, okay, like maybe she did that in reverse. And maybe that's something that runners do often, is they project logic onto a further zombie.
This magic answer that I've been searching for my, like what feels like all of my teens and into my 20s, you're telling me that intentional weight loss is not the magic answer. And I have been chasing that. And so it kind of like fucked with me though, because I was like, everything I learned in school, now you're telling me that was wrong. And
But for who? Was she trying to get that for herself, or was she trying to get that for other people? Because she doesn't seem overweight or anything. She seems like she has perfectly average weight. So I'm like, maybe she's thinking about it more in terms for other people.
Trying to help people, and it kind of created this dissonance inside of me that I didn't know what to do with it. Remember when I said I didn't have good coping skills? Yeah, that continues. And so at the time, I had a boyfriend who was my now husband, but he wanted to make the move. We both did. We had said, hey, we want to move somewhere warmer. We were living in Hoboken in New York at the time. It was so expensive. We were so sick of the snow. We weren't going out as much and like utilizing the nightlife of like, you know, whatever. And we're like, let's move somewhere warm. And so we started looking all around, and he found a job in Florida first. So I was like, you move down to Florida. I ain't moving until I find a job I like, because I knew that I would resent him if I moved and just took like a clinical job. Nothing against clinical dietitians if you're listening to this. I think you do the Lord's work. I just can't do it. It's just not for me personally. And so I was like, I'm not moving until I find a job. Well, there weren't really any other jobs other than clinical. So I started just like Googling private practice dietitians, and I cold called a dietitian who is an incredible dietitian. Her name is Mindy Black, and she is still to this day the dietitian of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I called Mindy because I saw her website, and I was like, this woman is doing it all. She's worked for the Jags. She's working for the local college with the athletes. She has a private practice. And so I just called her. And we hit it off over the phone. And she's like, I've been looking to hire someone to help me see some of these, you know, private practice clients. I don't know what the job's going to look like, but I know there's a need. Come on down. So I took a risk. And I'm still grateful every day to Mindy for taking a risk on me. And let this be a lesson to you, whether you are a dietitian student or just a student in general or just anybody. Like, go out there and go after what you want.
Do you see how much she's being human? Do you see how she's not saying totally crazy, weird stuff? Like she's really focused on like the actual procedural. That's giving not TR. It's giving somebody not in the issue. You see how she's talking like a human being? So I'm thinking that she's a runner. So she's somebody who just, she believes the E followed by the letter D talking points, but she doesn't have it. So this is enlightening. So I'm waiting for when she gets bit. I'm waiting for when the spores sink into her soul and she became a zombie. So let's see. I feel like we're getting there. But yeah, this is a runner. This is a runner's tale.
Like, there was no job posting that said like hiring a private practice dietitian. Like, I just saw her website and I was like, here's what I can bring to this practice. Here's what I do currently. Here's how I can switch it up. And we just hit it off. And she had said she had interviewed many dietitians, but it just wasn't a good fit. And we literally talked on the phone. And then I moved to Florida because of that. And I didn't even have a job offer, which some people might say that's crazy. Didn't have a job offer, didn't have a ring on my finger. And here we are, baby. So that was crazy. And continued to work in private practice. We had an in-person practice, like in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, like outside of the Jacksonville area. And we were seeing people in person. And I really, really enjoyed it. I was so grateful to step into a practice that already had an established client base. And there was still this kind of nudge that started to get louder inside of me that was saying,
oh my gosh,
something's really icky about what you're doing, Sam.
The fungus. She was breathing the spores of the fungus. Maybe that person that she's working with is a zombie, but something was cooking in there. There was she if you guys watched the Last of Us show, or you played the game, she was in the basement and the spores were all around. She didn't have a mask on. So this is what I want to prevent with my channel. I want to do my best. I want you to be immune. I need to come up with more terms, but I guess you need to be immune in the sense that if you were a zombie, you're not anymore. And then not allow other people to become one. Please, like, we have to stop the spread of the spores.
Or like something doesn't feel right. And what I'm speaking about is this idea of like people coming to me to say like, I need to lose weight or I want to lose weight. And me saying, okay, I'll help you. I'm a dietitian. That's my party trick. And I would restrict them and help them. And then they would lose weight. And then it would stay off for a little bit, however long, different per person. Then they would gain some back or all of it back plus some. And then they would call me if they could overcome the guilt and shame. And then they'd be like, I need a reset or I need, a quick fix. And we would do it again.
Okay.
And I was
so
like,
she was around them. So she's getting experience. She's around further developed zombies. She's around the stalkers, the clickers, probably a lot of clickers. So there's like, with clickers, it's the type of person in the E followed by letter D that is like reactive, scared, like they want to get out, but they switch back and forth. It's like very vacillating, not calculated. So she wouldn't get the vibe that they're manipulating her. Like a stalker would be more overtly manipulative. She's getting more like, oh, I feel so bad for them vibes. That's what I'm thinking. That's how I'm envisioning it. It's interesting.
It's not helping people.
But she's still getting exposed. Maybe she's getting bit all along this way.
And it just didn't feel right. But I by then I'd kind of like known about intuitive eating, but I was like, this can't how are you gonna make this a career? Like everybody wants to lose weight. I was so confused on like how I was gonna balance that. And so it was September of 2019. I moved down to Florida in 2016. So I was doing private practice for a few years. And September of 2019, I traveled to DC for an in-person conference with Haley Goodrich, that name again, the dietitian that was in my internship class, with her and Fiona Sutherland, who was her mentor, who was an incredible dietitian from Australia. And they were doing like a conference about non-diet practice and principles for providers. And I will never forget being there and just learning and taking everything in and being beside all of these providers that were already actively practicing like this. I was not. I was starting.
It's a zombie convention. Oh my gosh. So they were probably telling people those types of zombie points. And then they're creating a bunch of runners. So that is a huge goal. which shout out to Compulsive Rambler. She commented this like a couple days ago or so, where she was saying that a lot of them want to use the education system, or they want to use like these conferences or this type of stuff to create a lot of runners. So people that don't have the TR but enable it, because it enables, or it helps that E followed by the letter D fantasy. What is the fantasy? The fantasy is I can engage in the behaviors without judgment. That's probably one of the biggest goals of the zombie horde. So basically, what I'm understanding is they're trying to do like a mass infection, a mass zombie infection. So it's like, let's create as many runners as we can, in the sense that runners will run cover, runners will enable, runners will fight with the normal people. No, you can't say that because this, and that. And it seems like they tend to be kind of like the ones that want to help, or they want to do good, that kind of stuff. I'm going to have to like look more at more runners, but this is very telling. So she got bit. There was a mass fungus bloater infection at this conference. That's what it sounds like. And she converted.
To unlearn the diet culture bullshit, but I definitely still had a big foot in diet culture and intentional weight loss. And at the end of the 2 days, I remember going up to Haley and just crying. I was crying uncontrollably.
That's crazy. So I do think runners have their own mental health issues for sure. It's just not the TR, or it's subclinical. So I think she has issues. Like, I wonder if there is. This is just me getting more research about runners as I'm watching this, but between her and then the E followed by the letter D counselor in the Jubilee video, I'm wondering if there is some aspect of like codependency. You know, it makes me think about like, who is the kind of person that becomes an enabler? You know what I'm saying? So I might need to do more research on enablers, because there probably is some risk factors there too, because that's what I'm seeing. Like, I see she was eager to help. She tried her best to help. She didn't understand the problem correctly. So then she's kind of feeling hopeless about it. And then a zombie says, or a further advanced zombie says, you're doing everything wrong. Then she feels guilty. So it's that same kind of guilt, which a lot of zombies will try to guilt you. We don't put up with that. No, I don't put up with it. I'll put it to you that way. I certainly don't. But I could see why she would fall for it. Because a lot of times zombies can be very, very, some are very charismatic, or some are extremely manipulative. So, and again, a lot of it is just a lot of numbers. So a lot of it with the zombie horde is it's like a numbers game. So I can see how she fell into it, because she felt like a failure with people and like trying to help them downsize, and it's not working, and she's not understanding why it's not working. And then they're probably like blowing up on her, or crying, or getting really like, you know, she's witnessing the zombieism, the deep zombieism of these people, and it's probably disturbing her, and she doesn't know what is happening. And I think part of it is we need to raise awareness of these issues, and that it does happen within like BINGE. There's like extreme people with BINGE have done a very great job at hiding it, almost to the point where it's like it doesn't exist in a lot of people's minds, especially back then. So, in like the further back you go, you know, I think it's I'm hoping it's becoming more, like people are becoming more aware today. I think so. And I think that that helps. And once people understand that it's very similar to the other ones, in the sense of like the lying, the gaslighting, the you know, the manipulation, like all those things, like it's similar to all of that. The subtle competition, the trauma, the body image issues, right? Like there's so many similarities. So it's like, I think when that is more known, then people can understand it more clearly. And I think had she been dealing with people that were reductive, she probably would have been more aware. And so she might not have internalized it as much, or she might not have felt like such a failure or this or that because she wasn't properly trained for something like that, or she's just not aware. She's uneducated about it, and I just mean that like plainly, like she doesn't understand these issues. She doesn't understand bingo, right? So she's seeing it and she's like, what is going on? And then the people in it, I'm just trying, I don't know, da, 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 because they always say that. And then she goes to this conference and then they're just being overtly manipulative. So that's like a bloater conference, which that's the furthest level of zombie. That's somebody who is trying to push their DIS order onto the world and trying to actively recruit people and probably actively trying to create runners, people that will run cover for the issue, because on a subconscious level, that's what they want. They want the TR fantasy to be able to engage in the behaviors without judgment. That is the fantasy. That is something that people very deep within it think about all the time and wish the world was different every day. And that's why they talk about it all the time. That's why you never hear them shut up about it. Because they want to not be judged for what they're doing. And it's a hell no.
And I just didn't know what to do. Like I wanted her to, like, I was like, I am in this private practice where we are teaching people intentional weight loss. Like that's what we're promising people. It feels so wrong. Like after learning all of this, like I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And that's when Christy Harrison, who at the time her podcast was called Food Psych, the author of Anti-Diet. She's also the Diet of the Wellness Trap. I think her podcast switched to Rethinking Wellness. I forget the exact title, but she was like one of my idols at the time as a young dietitian, like starting out. Like I would listen to her stuff and she was really a voice for me of like, maybe I can pursue this intuitive eating thing. Like maybe I can shift my practice. And it scared the shit out of me. And so she was like walking up and I was like, I love you. And I'm like bawling, like just so whatever, just wild behavior. Right. But I couldn't hold it in. And that's how I felt. And it was really scary. And if, I get messages all the time from typically younger dietitians, but not always, but just being like, how do I do this? Like, how do I shift into the non-diet space? How do I become a health at every size provider?
That's scary. Are you guys freaked out? That's really scary. So this is like, ooh, she's letting us know this is a spreading issue. That's really bad. This is really bad.
How do I teach people body image? How do I walk away from like, can I really build a business that's
oh my gosh, you guys. Wow.
not selling intentional weight loss? The answer is yes. And it's really fucking scary. And I get that. So I come back from this conference and my whole world is like flipped on my head. I remember calling Jenna.
She was a zombie. She converted. She was bit. She breathed in. She took a deep breath of the spores and she was infected. And that was it. So let's see what happened after infection.
And being like, I don't know what to do. Fast forward a few months to March 2020, boom, COVID hits. The world shuts down. We shut down our in-person practice for 3 months and move everyone virtual. Luckily, we had just started doing virtual appointments before that, so we kind of already had systems in place. But all of our clients were like, we don't want to come back in person. Like, we want to be virtual. At this time, I started posting on TikTok. Everyone during COVID was like, gotta get on TikTok. And I was like, no, I don't want to. It's just another app. Instagram's enough. And started posting on TikTok, and it changed my life. Like, anytime I say TikTok changed my life, it makes me cringe, but it did. And by August of 2020, my business partner and I at the time sold our in-person practice because everybody wanted to be online, and why would we have a mortgage when we didn't need that? And I really shifted the direction of the practice. So I went as a sole owner and went forward as Find Food Freedom as of August of 2020 and haven't looked back since. And it's been a whirlwind. Intuitive eating definitely had its moment to shine back in 2020, 2021. It was like one of the most Googled terms. And through TikTok, I've had producers from the Drew Barrymore Show, CBS Mornings with Gayle King, NBC News. Like I had all of these national features. And I was still so young and new to this work, but I knew it was right. I knew that I could not keep promising people intentional weight loss when that is not.
So now she's just virtue signaling. This is the zombie runner virtue signal. I am safe. I will not trigger you. You can come to me, right? So I do think for some runners, there is a little bit of that financial aspect too. But that you can see, like, she's saying she was crying and like all this stuff. Like, so it's not just what I would call a wolf who's just doing it purely for the money. There is something more to it. It's not just that. And I do think oftentimes runners will have other mental health issues that do make them vulnerable to essentially becoming a tool of people within the TR. I hate to say it, but that's what it is, you know?
That's not sustainable. And body diversity is real, and all size bodies exist and are going to continue to exist. And so
she's going into zombie mode now. Like now she's just starting to say all the talking points. So we're losing her. We're losing her.
It has been a wild ride ever since. And so we were a private pay organization from August, well, for once it became Fine Food Freedom, August of 2020, all the way through 2023. And there were 3 of us, myself and 2 others, and I did a lot of counseling. And then January of 2024, we shifted into an insurance-based practice. I heard myself far too many times on interviews saying, you know, I want to help as many people as possible make peace with food and their body. And I really started to turn inward and be like, you can't help as many people as possible if you are a cash pay organization. Because I think about myself as someone who is lucky enough to have health insurance. I'm going in network, baby. There are very few providers that I will go out of network for. And as a dietitian, I'm like, we need to be in network for people. We need to be able to give this care to people who need it and want it. And so we've been able to reach thousands and thousands of people and create, at one point, I believe we had like 15 dietitians on staff. As of today, we have 11. And we've been able to create jobs for dietitians that are intuitive eating, health at every size, counseling positions.
Oh my gosh, she's doing some high level zombie work here. Oh my gosh. Yikes. Big yikes.
Which, if you're in this niche or if you're trying to be,
be very careful, you guys. If you get help, like you really need to make sure you're not going to a zombie. You've got to make sure. So I'm going to have to think about this more, but those 2 things I said, weight normalization, caloric realism, those are really big ones. See what they say about that. If they are like, no, to either one, then it's a no, in my opinion. You got to go to someone else.
Oh, how rare that is. And so it's been incredible. It's been a wild, wild ride. And as I've gone through these years, you know, from August of 2021 to April of 2024, I've had 2 babies and gone through 3 rounds of IVF during that time too. So I've been so lucky to have such a supportive team around me. I never ever want people to listen to this and think like, she does it all. Nope, sure don't. I have an incredible virtual assistant. I have an incredible person who helps me with the podcast and editing, who makes the clips. We have a dietitian supervisor, Julie, who we talked about earlier, who supports all of the dietitians with, you know, in-session counseling.
I wish that she would have known it wasn't necessarily that she was a failure. It's that she wasn't prepared for what she was going to be up against. And I think that part of it is really tragic to me, because instead of like I feel like this is where we get into some of the millennial cringe of it all. Like, instead of her seeing that she wasn't properly prepared for what she was going into, she just like dove into it and made it worse. And it's like, ooh, you know, but I think that that's common, because I feel like she experienced shame, and she experienced like, I'm failing as a dietitian. I don't think she necessarily was failing. I think that it's more so that she just had no idea what she was up against. And then she joined them. And she's one of them now. You know, she is a zombie. She believes it, right? That's how you can tell. Zombies believe. They believe in the BS that they are spouting. She does.
Accountants, like, we have a team of people. Did it start out as just me and one business partner at a time, and it was just us? Yes, it did. And then it was just me for a little bit, and then it kind of transitioned over. So it's been a crazy ride. And now, like I said, I don't do any of the client-facing work, but you see me on this podcast, you see me on social media, you see me doing the media, the forward-facing stuff. My goal is still to now reach as many people as possible and let you know that we accept health insurance and you can get free support with our incredible team of counselors. And it's just such a freaking joy.
I do think that if runners can be cured, they do make good fighters. You know, I like to use Angelica as an example of a runner. And she's a runner who left zombieism. And she's a very good fighter. So I do think that there's a little bit of hope there. Like, if somebody could get through to her at some point, then she would probably be a really good force for change. So, because it's kind of like some of those traits, like the empathy, the conscientiousness, the desire to do good, those kind of things, like, they can obviously be twisted and misused and, in that sense, and manipulated, but they can also be really positively directed. So it's something we definitely need to think about, because I think a lot of runners could shift quicker than people in the problem. So there might be some hope in that. But it's just hard. We're up against a lot of numbers, you know. Somebody's becoming a runner every day, you know. It's that kind of thing. It's kind of freaky. They have like a whole system, so it's like, oh my gosh. But hopefully she'll see that this is failing, and hopefully she'll change her mind. I really hope so.
Every day, like, pinch myself, and I'm like, is this really my life? Like, it's crazy. And it's shifting and it's changing. And what I was doing 5 years ago is vastly different than what I'm doing now. And one of the pieces of advice I wanted to give, though, especially to newer dietitians, or not newer, I keep saying that, but to dietitians in general, I get a lot of people reaching out saying, like, you know, are you hiring, or how do I start doing this work of being an intuitive eating dietitian? And it can be really, really difficult. So here's my thoughts. You can accept a job that is typically categorized as weight centric, and you can still move forward with your value.
Maybe the term, I need to come up with a term for a runner that is no longer in it, because immune to me means you had the TR and you're out, because I can speak zombie still, you know. I can go for it. I can, like, real hard. I mean, I do think that runners are also zombies, but it's just a little different. Because I feel like sometimes they don't have as much experience with the actual problem, so they're more reticent. Like, I will go down and dirty with it. You know, I will fight this out with William one day, you know, and that kind of thing. But I do think no longer being a runner is still no longer being a zombie, you know, and they're good at fighting other runners, which runners are the most prolific. That's the biggest group, you know.
Values and your beliefs as a dietitian. You have to make money. You have to have a job. You have to support yourself, whatever it is. You can be a dietitian that works, let's say, in a hospital, and they're speaking about bariatric surgery or diabetes or, like, different things. And you can still bring a weight inclusive lens and a health at every size lens and language to the system that shows, like, weight inclusive language, right? Language that is fair, that is unbiased, that makes your client or your patient in front of you feel safe. And
horrible. We can bring in the E followed by the letter D logic into these spaces. That's horrible. That is so awful.
Feel like you aren't judging them for the size of their body. You can practice that today, no matter what job you have, even just out in the world, not in a career. And so that is one thing I would really recommend. I've worked with many, many interns over the years where they will come to me, and that's one of my biggest pieces of advice is like, don't be afraid to take a job just because it's not saying that it's like weight inclusive and health at every size and intuitive eating or eating disorder.
My
like
God, that's horrible.
Those are very like few and far to come by. Far and few and far to come by, right? Brain's not fully there today. And so you can, unfortunately, if you want to do the intuitive eating route, it's a lot of self-education and seeking out the continuing education and unlearning and relearning. And so whether you have a job role that says that title or not,
oh my gosh, that's crazy. Oh,
start doing that today.
So she's basically advocating to subvert the expectations as a dietitian, which this is the reality. This is why I say this is The Last of Us. We are in full-blown zombie horde world takeover. You know, it definitely it feels like it has started here in the US, or it's so advanced in the US, but it is going global. I've said it many times, and it has always been everywhere, obviously, but I do think it's spreading. Like, I wonder if it's true, if it is growing in other parts of the world. I don't know if it could grow here. It's like, I mean, my gosh, like, we live and breathe the spores in the US, you know? It's like, I don't know. But I do wonder, like, I wonder if it's growing or not. You know, it's so hard to know because people lie. And so it would be so difficult to actually like figure out if numbers are going up, down, or staying the same. I would think that they're probably mostly the same, but I don't know. That's the truth. I don't know. But it's freaky to hear her advocating to subvert institutions as a dietitian. And I wonder if that likely is going global as well. She did mention somebody in Australia, for example. So, gosh.
And one of my biggest pieces of advice when I think about my story, when I think about my journey, when I think about everything, is figure out what you believe to your core. Like, what do you align with? What are your morals? What are your values? What is important to you? What fills you up? Like, all of these questions are really important, and that needs to be rock solid in any decision that you have moving forward. Because in the beginning, when I
would say, what is reality?
I was waffling, right? I had one foot in diet culture. I had one foot in intuitive eating. And I was like, I had this cognitive dissonance and my thoughts and my beliefs weren't matching up and everything felt so uneasy. And that trickled into...
You should have found the fireflies when you are lost in darkness. No, we probably weren't there. Weren't strong enough. Oh, man. The fireflies, we got to pick it up. Oh, my gosh. We are so early on, y'all. But she needed something different. So hopefully I can help to make that a thing and we can like figure it out together. But it just kills me. Like, I really couldn't stand her before I watched this. I'm going to be wrong. I'm going to be real about it. I'm going to be honest. But it kills me because I can see she really did have the best intentions. And it's just like, ugh. You know, and it's hard too because like these further up zombies that are manipulating her, they're not necessarily, it's like if you're not self-aware, you're not like, it's like you do things on purpose, but it brings up that question of like, how much can we blame somebody when they're in a mental health issue? Like if somebody is actually delusional, you know what I'm saying? Because you are. When you're in the TR, you are actually delusional. And so it's like, can I blame myself for some of the things I did when I was deeply delusional in the DIS order? And why wasn't there somebody there to wake me up or to intervene? It's like, those are questions that I have all the time. And I think that has to change. And I think a lot of it is cultural. A lot of it is fought on a cultural battlefield. But we really, I don't know. This is making me very extremely, I'll just say, skeptical about institutional support. So obviously there will probably be some good dietitians, some good clinicians and stuff out there, but they're going to have to be contending against this too in their field all the time. And how many will convert, and how many this and how many that, that's the kind of stuff that I think about. But we can't control it. All we can control is our own behavior and what we do. And I have to remind myself that. And that's how I get grounded again,
Every aspect of my life. Now, I am so firmly rooted in what I believe and what I know to be true. And it allows me to use the word no very appropriately. It's so easy for me to say no to things if they don't align with me. And it makes the yeses so much better. It makes it like, hell yeah. Like if this aligns with me, if this aligns with my values and our mission at Find for Freedom, like absolutely, let's go. But if it's a no, it's a no. And let me use maybe as an example. Just know, like I kind of said with the job, like I'm talking like career, but now this could be like a project example. If a news station comes to you, let's say, can you come talk about healthy back to school snacks for kids or whatever it is? Like, yeah, I can. And maybe that's not my specialty, right? Maybe I'm not a pediatric dietitian, but I sure know how to remove the guilt and shame from food and help parents be able to eat food without guilt and shame and bring foods into the house for their children as well.
Oh
like,
my God.
There are ways that when people request something
This
from
is horrible.
you can put
You
your
can subvert
intuitive
it.
eating non-diet spin on it.
You can subvert and put some of that in there. Oh, that's horrifying.
No matter what the subject is. Now, let's preface that within reason, right? If it's like how to lose 30 pounds by summer using your GLP-1, that's going to be a no for me. Like, I can't help with that. That's not aligned for me. But that's been something that's been really rewarding is the work that I do. I am so uber aligned with, and it feels so like kismet that I'm excited to do the work that I do. And I can't share it now. I wish I could, but we have a massive project that we are working on, that I am working on at Find Food Freedom, that will be dropping in 2027, that I wish I could tie the bow on this episode with, but I cannot yet. But I will as soon as I can. And it's just proof that like when you're true to yourself, when you're true to your values, when you know what you believe, yeah, you might feel like you're saying no more often because there's a lot of things that don't align with my values and my morals and my mission. But it opens up for some of the most incredible opportunities that do align with you. And I just hope that whoever needed to hear this episode hears it. I think the field of dietetics is going to be continuously changing. Like I said, it already looks vastly different than it did.
Oh my God, I hope it does. We need to change the direction of that real quick.
10 years ago, 5 years ago even. But one thing to be sure, like, with all this AI talk, I think people get worried, like, is AI going to replace humans? And like, I do AI for my shopping list and I do AI for this. And like, don't get me wrong, there's ways that AI is super helpful and I'm not anti-AI, but I am here to say the work that our team at Find Food Freedom does with clients is life-changing. You can go to our website. If you go to find-foodfreedom.com/testimonials, I can put that in the show notes below. You can watch hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of client testimonials and stories. It's just our clients telling their stories of how working with a counselor has changed their life, even outside of their relationship with food and body. And so I believe that dietitians will stay relevant, will stay important regardless of technology, because human connection is so important. And that is what this job is all about, truly. It's coming to a client and saying, how can I help you? And hearing them and helping them trust themselves again, instead of trying to be this authoritative nutrition expert pushing
Oh my
shit.
God, what the fuck is she saying? Oh my gosh, this is so weird. You come to a dietitian for human connection. No, you don't.
On people. So thank you so much for being here. There's probably like a million pieces of info that I missed that I wanted to share with you that I didn't. But I'm just grateful that you're here. I'm grateful that you listened to my story. Please feel free to rate, review, subscribe. Let me know what you think. If you have additional questions, send me a DM.
Okay, I'm going to end it there. But yeah, we have a lot of work to do. That's all I'm saying. So I'm glad I watched this because I feel like I'm getting a better picture of a runner. So, yikes, big yikes to the whole thing. We're the resistance. I told y'all. I told you. This is the beginning. This is the very beginning, honey. So we got a lot of work to do, but let's move along. I will talk to you guys later. Have a good rest of your day, night, etc. Peace.